the 11th hole. And Jon Rahm told Todd that he didn't like where his game was after the week at the beach. His game looks pretty good here.
Well, his game's been looking pretty darn good all year, especially with that great finish he had a couple weeks ago, and putting the heat on the boys with that shot.
Yep, they're 3 down, so that for birdie. Thomas and Spieth trying to respond. Rolf, this is JT from the bunker.
I can tell you, Ryan, this match is not purely for amusement only, and this is a really important shot here to keep this lead going. Look.
Oh, he got a little assist there.
Yeah.
I don't think that's legal.
That one. It's nice to actually see him out there playing golf. You know, so many times we see players preparing for these big championships, and they're playing onesomes with all their handlers and everybody around them. And to see 4 players out there actually playing golf is very refreshing for me.
Yeah, and a lot of smiles on the face. We pick up the action live now as Phil working on his stroke. Much talked about Mickelson not making the trip to Erin Hills, instead choosing to attend the graduation of his daughter in California, Mrs. Erin Hills, and he should be well rested, and he's learned to love this Open Championship.
He has, and I don't think he liked it a whole lot early in his career, but he, after a number of years and coming over here, kind of developed an affinity for links golf, and then certainly that was all capped off in 2013 at Muirfield.
And let's be honest, Noda, as great as the win at Muirfield was, obviously winning the Claret Jug, his last win worldwide, the performance he put on last year at Royal Troon was one for the ages.
Yeah, and I got a good chance to visit with him at the Ryder Cup after that performance, and as exhilarating as the performance was, it was a huge letdown. It took him quite a while to get over that, going out there and playing that kind of golf and coming up just a fraction short, especially where he's at in his career. He doesn't have a whole lot of those weeks left in him, so he realizes, I guess, the moment that he's in as far as his career is concerned, and he certainly wants to do everything he can, working with Andrew Getz. And Andrew, they've really focused on just trying to get that driver worked out. I mean, if he can hit a few more drivers, he certainly can shape the ball. He controls his ball flights as good as anybody, so just hitting some fairways is the key.
An interesting group we have out here as each guy's kind of doing their own thing. Phil, a 50-to-1 shot, despite the fact that over the last 5 years he has the best scoring average of anyone in the Open. So it's kind of intriguing that not getting much love is Phil Mickelson. Instead, a lot of that love going to Jon Rahm, who won the Irish Open and just 22 has soared up the world rankings.
You would have thought they'd have learned by now about Phil. It's interesting when you see the dynamic of this group out there. There's been so much talk about Phil Mickelson and him being a mentor toward the younger players. Ricky Fowler, of course, a great example of that, and Jon Rahm now. And everybody talks about how much benefit Ricky Fowler got learning from Phil and how much benefit Jon Rahm gets from Phil Mickelson. I also think it goes the other way. Phil Mickelson gets a tremendous benefit because I really believe he sees himself. When Phil Mickelson looks at Jon Rahm right now, he is seeing himself as a younger man.
So this group right now finishing the 11th hole. As Todd alluded to, they're playing a match out there, and Spieth and Thomas 3 up. They have the hole with birdies, and 50-to-1. Surprise you, Noda, that Phil not getting quite the love, especially what he did last year?
Absolutely. I think it's just more reflection on just how he hasn't played a whole lot over the last few months, but also just hasn't found that one gear that we know he's capable of, and his putting has been solid. Not sure why they must be looking for something specific in evaluating that on the phone there, but like I said, I really think it comes down to his driving. If he can get the ball in the fairway and take advantage of his iron play, he could factor.
Here's a question for you. Do you think there's any bones factor in here? I'm watching this going, something's missing here. It's bones. Do you think anybody is concerned that he doesn't have bones here?
I think it's a bit of a shift for him, obviously, because he worked together for 25 years and spent so much time, and now, I think it helps that it's his brother. It's not another caddy. It's his brother, who he's obviously spent a lot of time with and trusts. But I do think that's a bit of a factor. Speaking of Bones, who's now working for us on the dark side of things, had dinner with him last night, and we were, talking about his man and Phil Mickelson. he said, don't count Phil out. He said, this golf course, he doesn't need the driver as much, so it takes us out of his hands. I didn't think him missing Aaron Hills was that big a deal, because I don't think that golf course suited him very well. But this golf course, able to hit some 2 and 3 irons. As Bone said, he's one of the best iron players in the game, and he loves getting over here and playing links golf.
And look there at Jordan Spieth, another one of the early favorites here. The Open, trying to get things back in. Of course, the last time.
Ryan, I'm going out on a limb. I'm going with Spieth early.
Wow. Out of the gate, Mark Roth.
Unsolicited. You didn't even ask yet.
Notice strong-armed us all with a